So it's obvious that some form of intelligence came after Glenn Greenwald over the weekend. I am not going to show the video. I'm not going to show pictures of Glenn Greenwald in the privacy of, his own home or wherever he was. I think there's been a lot of that shared on social media, and he made it very clear that he did not give consent for that to be released. And I'm damn sure not going to continue to spread it on here. But I will say this. Anytime people are being surveilled or there is video that is leaked when someone is in the privacy of their own home or someone else's home and they did not consent to release that information, that is a crime. Over the weekend, there was video footage and pictures that was released of Glenn Greenwald in intimate acts. And the first thing I thought when I saw it, first place I saw it was Twitter. The first thing I thought to myself was, I wish I could just give Glenn Greenwald a big hug. Because what happened to him could happen to any one of us. What people do behind closed doors with whoever they're dating, significant other, whatever, and it was two consenting adults, that's really none of your business. And I could just only imagine how he may have felt. It's obvious that this was a coordinated effort attack on Glenn Greenwald. And when I show you these following videos, I think you're going to understand where that attack came from, where I believe it came from. This first video here was Glenn Greenwald with Tucker Carlson. He was calling out Israel and the Mossad. He was discussing that they were spying on American citizens. This video, this interview just happened to, again, happen right before these pictures and the video release of Glenn Greenwald. So I don't think this is a coincidence.
One of the set of files we released described the intelligence relationship that we have with Israel, the NSA has with Israel. Israel is the number one recipient of NSA technology and NSA intelligence. We share more with Israel, even more than we do with the Five Eyes partners who develop this technology. We give more to Israel, more intelligence, raw intelligence about Americans as well, and more intelligence know-how. But at the same time, the documents that describe who are our greatest intelligence threats, who are our greatest intelligence adversaries, who spies on us the most, who is capable of spying out the most, number one on the list is Israel as well. Obviously, the Israelis use, the most dangerous spying programs like Pegasus and others come from Israel, are developed by Israel, are controlled by the Israelis, by which I simply mean to say that Israel uses every weapon at its disposal, including gathering incriminating information about its enemies.
Okay. So there was Glenn Greenwald talking about how Israel has the technology and the capability to obviously spy on Americans. That interview happened. And then next thing we know, there's this video leaked of Glenn Greenwald in intimate acts. And what was also very troubling to me about this is the number of accounts on X who all of a sudden decided that they didn't know that Glenn Greenwald was LGBTQ. I'm like, these accounts got to be bots, or they're paid to do this in some way, shape, or form. Glenn Greenwald's husband passed away, I believe it was 2023, so not long ago, and he did a tribute to his husband when he passed away. So it was weird to me that they were trying to do a gotcha on a journalist. Like, Glenn Greenwald is a great journalist, and this is what they were trying to do. They're trying to attack his character so that you're not focused on his work. It's an old trick, and some people actually fall for it. I don't care who Glenn Greenwald is in a relationship with. That's not significant, especially considering he is criticizing a country that is committing a genocide. That's more important. But for one day, they were able to take your eye off of that and put your attention on Glenn Greenwald and his life and what he chooses to do and who he chooses to be with. The number of people, granted, a lot of people announced they stood by Glenn Greenwald, but some of these accounts that were Jason Whitlock. I'm going to pray for Glenn Greenwald and pray that God takes him out of this lifestyle. Negro, please. Can you just continue sports commentary? I didn't had it. Just go back to sports commentary and stay away from the political stuff, okay? All of a sudden, he tried to act like he was surprised. This is all a part of the act. They were feeding right into it. That is what was really disappointing as well. Now, he also made this statement. Now, keep in mind that this is edited, but I think they could have come after him for this too. Listen to this.
The Israelis are like an apocalyptic cult. They don't recognize moral limits. They don't acknowledge the humanity of Palestinians. They absolutely consider Palestinians to be animals. There's no way you can just do what they've done to Gaza. Bomb every remaining hospital and mosque and school. They're bombing electricity generators for hospitals so that ICU patients on incubators die. They've bombed shelters. They've constantly bombed people in tents. The number of children who are dead, including under 3 years old, is just, as a statistic, is shocking in itself. There's no question the number of people who have died that we hear from Gaza is extremely underestimated because they only count the people who go through the morgue. Huge numbers of people are still lying under that rubble. There's massive rubble everywhere with bodies underneath who don't make it to the morgue. There are other people who die of disease or hunger who aren't counted because they're not actually killed with bombs or bullets, but they're victims of the Israeli action nonetheless. They've stripped the Palestinians in Gaza of all remaining humanity. I mean, they go to bed every night with Israeli bombers over their head, being terrorized every night that that's the last night their children are going to wake up. I don't even know how you get through this and then maintain any semblance of life, especially the million children in Gaza whose childhood is shaped by this. How do you function? How do you become a normal human being? How do you ever feel safe or stable? Or it's inconceivable.
He said the truth. And yeah, Glenn Greenwald is Jewish and they see people like him. And this is what I was trying to tell you guys. Israel, they look at people like Glenn Greenwald and Katie Halper and Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate, and they see them as traitors. So they really try to come after them. I think there was an announcement Katie was just put on some list. You see what I'm saying? So I find it very interesting that after these conversations, this video just comes out of nowhere. And there were people saying, oh, it looks like he may have been doing drugs or something there. I don't give a fuck. He's a grown man. What people tend to do with their body, that is their choice. Now, he also said this with Tucker Carlson.
Was he working with or for any foreign intelligence agencies? There is no way they don't already have that answer. Maybe the answer is no. Maybe he wasn't working with any. It would shock me, but maybe that's their answer. Maybe their answer is he was. Why don't we have those answers? Like, have FBI agents for whatever reason go through those sex tapes for the next 3 years. That's fine. What stops them from releasing that question? That answer now.
For people who may not be as familiar with the details, what leads you to raise that question? Is there evidence that suggests he might have been working with a foreign intel agency?
Well, first of all,
so he's talking about Jeffrey Epstein.
The source of his wealth has always been mysterious. I mean, he wasn't just very rich. He was living the life of a multi-billionaire. He had, $50 million properties in Manhattan and West Palm Beach and
New Mexico.
Bought that island, New Mexico, flying around on a 747. This is not just like somebody who's very wealthy. This is somebody with essentially unlimited resources, right? Like Bill Gates type wealth. And his primary benefactors is Les Wexner, who is a multi-billionaire, somebody with whom he worked closely. And I guess the argument or the claim is he was a brilliant strategist for how to save taxes, how to save money on taxes.
He was like a highly competent accountant, basically.
Yeah, like a tax accountant.
Yeah,
that's what tax accountants do. They tell you what strategies to use to save money. So maybe Les Wexner valued him so much that he gave him, I don't know, $3 billion. In general, billionaires don't like to give money away that they don't have to. Maybe Les Wexner is like super generous, like, oh, so grateful to Jeffrey Epstein, here's like $2 billion. But Les Wexner has all sorts of ties to, like, his main non-money making endeavor in life is supporting Israel and
Supporting Israel. That part right there, you can watch the rest of this, of course, through the Tucker Carlson interview. But again, I find it very suspicious that that video was leaked. I don't even know if all of it was real, but I'll show you Glenn's statement as well after he had this interview with Tucker Carlson. Now, luckily, it seems like Glenn Greenwald is getting a ton of support from independent media, from all different, like everybody. Like I saw Sagar say he stands by him. Cenk Uygur said it. Of course, those of us at RBN, we said we stand by him. Bree did. Like everybody is, regardless if we all are friends or get along or not, everybody I've seen so far has said that they stand by Glenn Greenwald. Now, he released a statement that says about the videos. Last night, videos were released online depicting behavior in my private life. Some were distorted and others were not. They were published without my knowledge or consent, and its publication was therefore criminal. Though we do not yet know exactly who is responsible, we are close to knowing, and the motive was a maliciously political one. And for the content of the videos, I have no embarrassment or regret about them. The videos depict consenting adults engaging in intimate actions in their private lives. They all display fully consensual behavior, harming nobody. Obviously, it can be uncomfortable and unpleasant when your private behavior is made public against your will. That's why the behavior is private in the first place. But the only wrongdoing here is the criminal and malicious publication of the videos in an attempt to malign perceived political enemies and advance a political agenda. Others are, of course, free to form their own judgments, as some are prone to do about others' private lives. It won't change my work. I will continue all the many prongs of my journalism and pursue the cause most important to me exactly as before. So I have to say this as well. Glenn Greenwald is an amazing journalist. Again, let's not forget the work that Glenn Greenwald has done. And I feel like that's exactly what whoever leaked these videos were trying to do. They're trying to get you to focus on that instead of focusing on the work that he has done, right? Glenn Greenwald is one of the few, and I say few, that elevated Black independent media voices like Revolutionary Blackout Network. When other people rejected us and still do till this day, don't want anything to do with us because we're not dim sycophants or whatever. Glenn Greenwald gave us a platform. When Glenn Greenwald started to show System Update on Rumble, he brought on Nick from RBN and myself from RBN onto his show when other white commentators refused to engage with us. That's something that I will always remember. Now, we may agree on some things politically and may not agree on other things politically. But the work, the journalism, which he really does real journalism, that Glenn Greenwald has done, that can't be disputed. Period. And I just hope everybody remembers that. I hope everybody, takes that home with them. And I love the way that Nico put this. And Nico read my mind. He's so good at this. We won't play the whole thing, but just listen to this part.
Breaking news, everybody. 2 consenting adults had sex and one of them just so happened to be a journalist. Oh my God! Yes, somebody leaked a tape of Glenn Greenwald having consensual intimacy with another adult. And yeah, Glenn released a statement about it, but I think I speak for everybody when I say, we don't need to read all that because 98.999% of us don't give a flying fuck if Glenn Greenwald has sex.
Right. Exactly. Thank you so much, Nico. Nico does a really great job there, obviously. And yeah, so the chickens come home to roost because obviously Glenn Greenwald's getting attacked because number one, he is Jewish. He is a prominent journalist, a prominent Jewish journalist that is calling out what Israel is doing. And he went on to a very massive platform, which is Tucker Carlson's show, and called out what Israel is doing. And that is why I believe that video was leaked of him. And I really think that's what this is all about. Israel is in panic mode because even some that are on the right are turning against Israel, including people like Thomas Massey. Shout out to Thomas Massey for this. Nothing can justify the number of civilian casualties, tens of thousands of women and children inflicted by Israel and Gaza in the last 2 years. We should end all U.S. military aid to Gaza. Thomas Massey for the win. So does everybody see what's really happening? They're in panic mode because that's what I was trying to tell you guys. Even some conservatives are like, yo, this is not what I signed up for. This is ridiculous. So see how more people are speaking out against it. So at first they could just point fingers at the left and say those radical leftists are pro-Hamas and they're pro-terrorists and they hate Israel and da-da-da-da. But now you're starting to see even more people like Glenn Greenwald. I don't even know if Glenn's not on the right or like also not necessarily, he's not a communist or anything like that either. But Glenn Greenwald has an audience that reaches different people. So there are some people that are on the right that do watch Glenn Greenwald's show. And I think he's been able to get through to some people about this. So the thing is, they see people like Glenn Greenwald as a threat. Ha 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 ha. David Pakman, who wants to flee the United States. Again, they don't see him as a threat. They see people like Glenn Greenwald as a threat. So pay attention to that. So you see everybody, more people are being more vocal about, they're like, no, this is ridiculous what Israel is doing, including some of those who are, on the right. I know Thomas Massey's a libertarian, but he aligns more on the right. So that's why they're panicking and freaking out. So just do the timestamp, guys. He goes on Tucker's show. He calls out Israel, also calls out Epstein, also calls out Israel surveillance. He calls all of that out. And then all of a sudden that video is leaked. What everybody should be focused on, instead of what they saw in that video, what they should be focused on is the fact that the video was leaked in the first damn place and how much they are watching you. The amount of surveillance that is on you and the fact that you don't really have privacy. And that should be the focus. So when I say the chickens have come home to roost, this is what I'm talking about. Israel has been exposed on the world stage for what it really is, and not just Israel, but also Israeli intelligence, and they can't take it. So again, I said, if Glenn Greenwald were here, like when I saw it, I just said to myself, like, I wish I could just give Glenn Greenwald a big hug because nobody wants to go through that. And what happened to him, it could happen to you. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.